We're going to worship ideology, human-driven ideology. I think that's why it happened. I mean, obviously that didn't happen overnight.
No,
That took years, but
it
that's
did.
where we've come to now. So I think it was very strategic. I think it was driven in part by psychological illness, partly by the corrupt drive for power. And you can see the results. Taking God out of the schools has made us far worse. It has not made us better. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not, and whether you're religious or not. And again, getting back to reality, please acknowledge that we are worse off. Now, you can argue whether it's, you like it or don't like it. Same thing with feminism. You can argue whether you like feminism, it doesn't matter. I don't care. But acknowledge that it has wrecked our society. Acknowledge a secular society is a worse society. Acknowledge a feminist-run society is a worse society. Just acknowledge that reality, and then at least we'll be able to then argue and discuss within the world of possible solutions that are all potentially workable, rather than arguing about whether the sun rises in the east or whether it rises in the west. That's a dead end. We're just wasting our time because we already know the truth to that.
I try to encourage women to go back to their old ways, as I would call it, is a safer way to call it. Being that stay-home mom is so important. Being feminine, being the nurturer of the family is so important. What do you feel that to get to where we need to be as conservatives, to have like a more truthful way of living, that a lot of these, the way to that is to have mothers gain their power back and their true nature back? What do you think about that?
I think that the women today are incredibly weak. I think the women who accused, led, supported the criminal trial of the owner of the Spanish soccer team, who in jubilation after seeing his girls soccer team win the national, international competition, picked one of them up and gave her a 3-second non-sexual but excited kiss on the mouth. And then those women that pursued him into court saying that he's transgressed, he's violated her bodily autonomy, and it's encouraged a law to be passed, which just got passed 2 days ago in Spain, that states that without affirmation, meaning I want you to kiss me right now, without affirmation, a unsolicited kiss is considered a sexual assault, subject to, I think it's 2 to 3 years in prison. This is now a law in Spain as of this week. The women that drive that are weak, and they weaken all women. It is so insulting, it is so condescending to women to say that a woman who receives an unwanted kiss is so destroyed, so traumatized, and so weak that she can't raise her arm and push this man away and say, "No, please, I'm not into that right at the moment." That she can't tolerate something so minuscule. If she's that weak, how could she possibly tolerate childbirth? How could she defend her child against a bully? How could she speak up for her child at school? That requires tremendously more courage than turning the other cheek, literally turning the other cheek, when a man approaches her for a kiss that she didn't affirm. So I don't think it does women a service. I think it does them a disservice to turn against their traditional nature and to say that, we shouldn't have mothers, we shouldn't have parents. Women should just be working. Women should become like men. I think that weakens women.
It weakens women, but also men aren't really acting like men. And I think they're not. And I think that's what makes women step up a little bit and start taking the masculine role. I think both sexes are doing a horrible job, and like what's going on is what we need to really process.
They're filling a vacuum of lack of masculinity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Men have become eunuchs.
Yes.
They have lost their cojones. And when you have a eunuch in your family, in your business, in your political office, in your school, on your streets, as your coach, when you don't have a real man, as a woman, you're going to feel uncomfortable, you're going to feel unsafe, you're going to want to jump in to protect.
Yes.
And that is not your role in the long run. In certain times in history, women did jump and fill in. In World War II, all the men were gone. Industries, factories were left idle. Women jumped in and they started working in the factories, and they did an excellent job. But that's not their role long term. That is their emergency position, their fallback. They don't want to take on that role in perpetuity. They knew that the war would end. And like, you know what? I'm just going to give up for a few years my role as a woman. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty and start,
as you should for your family.
Making bullets instead of cosmetics cases. Absolutely. But that's not what women are doing now. Women are taking over the role of men in perpetuity because the men have left. They're not available. My patients say that to me in the office. These young women come in and say, I can't find a man to date.
Yeah,
where are the real men? I don't know where they are. I go into a bar and I look around and all I see are men in man buns and skinny jeans and tight clothes. And they don't look physically strong. They don't make eye contact. They will not approach me.
They're scared.
They're scared and intimidated. So it's a vicious cycle that's going around and around, and both sexes are losing. We have women who are becoming more masculine, despite the fact that they don't want to be because they don't see any masculinity anywhere.
Well, that's
we have
not our
men
natural
who are pulling
habitat.
Away. It's not.
That's why we're so angry.
Women are in a bad mood now.
Yes.
And in this case, I think it is justifiable anger.
Yes,
because
it is.
they do not know where to find men anymore.